welcome to our next segment of the show, kind of the meat and potatoes of what makes Fantasy Stuff Fantasy Labs. We're going to look at your content. We're going to look at the stuff that you guys created and shared on our Discord server. That's dndtime.stream, #Discord will bring you there. And do the workshop channels. This is all work in progress stuff. And if there's any from the final products channel, Pete, you correct me as we go. But
okay, yeah, apparently Elementalist, they're saying Elementalist has changed again, and they want to give me the most recent. Is it in the
well,
workshop?
we'll handle that at the end, I suppose, Apex, and we'll move it to the back of the line for now.
Throw it in the workshop, we'll do it last.
Or just PM me or something, and we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, but I'll have my on it. Actually, it'd be great if you added me in the workshop with it. That would be the best way to do it. So for now, we are getting very low on time, and you guys made an immense amount of stuff. We will not have enough time to do all of the stuff that's here tonight, unfortunately. We'll do as much as we can, but as we're kind of coming into this, I see V-Bunny is hanging out. I don't see Cherry. I don't see... Or Frog is hanging out.
Razia was in the chat earlier. So, guys, if you're in the chat, let us know, and we're absolutely going to look at your stuff as soon as we can. But like Pete was saying, we're not going to be able to go after quite everything. So let us know what in particular you'd like for us to go over of your stuff.
Also, V-Bunny, I know that you're here right now.
Pete, I'm going to let you take the lead for now. I need to run to the bathroom very quickly. So I'm going to jump it over to the Pete Zone.
It's just me now, everyone. It's you and me. Pete and you. Rosie, it's up to you guys. Okay, great. And V-Bunny, I asked you the same question. Let me know which... I know you have 3 of these monsters here. We'll go through... we'll probably have time to get to one. I'm definitely going to do that Halfling Brownie race, but let me know which of those 3 monsters that you would most like us to talk about tonight. No, Frog, your spells did not get skipped. We'll come around to them. Again, we might not have time to do all of them, but we'll at least look at a couple. So, V-Bunny, let us know which of those monsters you want us to do, if you have one in particular you'd most like us to talk about. And if we have more time, we'll go back around. Same thing with you, Frog, and spells. But again, if we have time, we'll do them all. Let's start doing it. First off, we got this Brawny Halfling here. This is from V-Bunny. But go for the DJ first. You got it, V-Bunny. This is from V-Bunny. I wanted to talk about this is really quick. This is the Brawny Halfling. And this is a sub-race option for the Halfling. As a Brawny Halfling, you're stronger than average and can lift more than most Halflings. Some say that Brawnies have giant or Goliath blood. Intimidating. So subclass races, the Halflings get a +2 to Dex, Lucky and Brave, which are pretty load-bearing features. So then you get a couple of relatively minor features from the subclass usually. And we have these ones here. So you get Intimidating, you gain proficiency in the Intimidation skill. Cool, I like it. Ability score increase, your strength goes up by 1, and then you get this Brawny feature, which is you do not have disadvantage on attack rolls made with heavy weapons, and you count as 1 size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. So you count as... Halflings are small creatures, so you count as a medium creature, is essentially what this says. I adore this little subclass, this little subrace right here. One, Brawny Halfling is so in flavor for Halfling. There's like the Stout and the Lightfoot Brawnies. I could just see the Brawny clan as someone who thinks of themselves as a Halfling in a lot of ways. Like, I love the Halfling lore, and this just completely knocks it out of the park on what I think it means to be a Halfling. And I always disliked that you couldn't make a Halfling Barbarian that walked around with their big heavy weapon, or be a Halfling that used a longbow, or any number of things. And I'm really glad that this is an option for people who want to do that. I think it's something that's needed. I love this subrace. V-Bunny, I think you did an amazing job of this.
I completely agree. I'm back, Pete, by the way. I caught almost the entirety of, I think actually the entirety of that. Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. There are, I think, 2 incredibly tiny meat picking at the nits, and that is, it should say you have proficiency in the Intimidation skill, not you gain.
Yeah, this is...
Yep. Otherwise, it's perfect. I mean, this is beautiful.
V-Bunny,
awesome.
Change enough. Well, I guess change that you have. But basically...
Also, your you and Intimidating is lowercase. Gotcha. This is the Lich's Lair. We're eating your soul. Otherwise, you were about to escape the Lich's Lair. Wait, we're not in the Lich's Lair anymore. We're fine.
Welcome to and this was also not in the completed. This was like I wouldn't have batted an eye if this was in completed works. It was in the workshop, but like
this
the only thing you're
could
missing is
go
the
in
capitalization.
a book. End of story. Perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, that's as much praise as I can lump on this thing because we have so much to do. But it's very good. I like it, V Bunny.
Look, wait, just one last thing, Pete. I have to say one more thing in praise. Some say that the Brawnies have giant or Goliath blood. I love it. You've given this one, like, kind of cryptic, mysterious bit of, like, here's something you could use to inspire your character if the idea of this doesn't already inspire you. Right? I love it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's a great point too.
Like,
it's the some say that
fucking
it's the
on.
some say that make it because then it's
Yeah.
like you're not saying that you have to do that. You're saying that like, does that intrigue you, player? Throw it in. Like it's good for sure.
perfect.
Anyway,
So,
let's
thank you
look
so much, V-Bunny.
Thank you. Also, another thing from V Bunny here that he has 3 monsters. He said they kind of go together, but he wanted us to look at first DJ, the DJ, which was DJ Awesome Face. DJ Awesome Face.
Okay. Here we go.
So
He's an undead.
there are 3 monsters that are designed to kind of work together in different ways. So if you want to like give us some bookends.
Oh man, DJ Awesome Face.
Oh my god,
You're
DJ
proficient
Awesome
in
Face.
like every skill.
Holy shit.
Your ability scores are all incredible.
That's a lot of big saves. Int is maybe DJ Awesome Face's weak point. Okay, I see some of these are like.
I would recommend right off the bat giving it is if you're making this to be like an actual monster for players to battle, I would consider giving it more weaknesses than just intelligence from ability score perspective, because figuring out what those weaknesses are, like, that's exciting for players, right? It's like, oh, we can target their constitution. What spells do I have that do that, right? Like, might be a cool thing to consider. Effectively, it's a bard. Okay, you've just scaled up a bard and made him undead to a degree.
And I guess that's the reason why all the skills, usually in monsters, you don't want to give them that many skills. You just give them a couple that you know they're going to use, which I would be reticent to give that many skills. But
I'm not sure I was
gonna say, if this is for a home campaign, I mean, go wild. You know how it works. But like, you'd never see Wizards publish something that has this many skills in it.
Acid, bludgeoning, and slashing are its 3 vulnerabilities.
That's interesting.
I'm not sure I understand them, but yikes.
I guess.
Is it Pinata?
He gets beat up.
He's a lich.
Easy.
Okay, so he's a lich. He's a lich bard. Like, he's got rejuvenation, so he comes back. Wait, he's got a glass eye of charming. That's actually a very cool. I really like the idea of a glass eye of charming. That sounds really cool.
I'm about to sneeze, but I can't get it.
Spell refueling ring of a radiant resistant Mizium plate. Oh my god. I don't even know what you've done here, everybody, but it's scary. Oh my god. It just keeps going. Oh, he's got Bardic Inspiration too.
He's got Bardic Inspiration. He's got a spell slot suite.
Oh, he can counterspell at will. Holy Jesus.
Oh my goodness. Counterspell at will is really powerful. That's higher AC than... higher AC. That's higher CR than I think it's probably...
Oh, it's just got all the... It's just a straight up a bard plus some other stuff. Your Artificer Bard. I mean... Oh, he's got Grovel Cower in Bag.
I love that. I actually love that. I love the idea of a lich, like a kobold lich, that still has that instinct to grovel, cower, and beg from
he's not a kobold. He's a medium undead.
Yeah, but he's
just a really big kobold.
I mean, he's medium because all of his undead aura extends the size around him. But I assume that he's a kobold.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold up. Eldritch Blast, ranged spell attack, +10 to hit in each bolt, 120 feet, hit, 1d6 plus 10, 1d10 plus 6 force damage, or 1d10 plus 10 force damage. You choose.
Wait, why?
I don't know.
Oh no, lightning damage.
Oh, lightning damage.
I thought you were saying
Okay.
there were 2 different force damages.
See,
Jeremy,
I thought they were 2 different force damages. I get it. That's because of the armor you have that he's got. I know what you're doing.
you done got me on that one, Jeremy.
I done goofed, my fam.
Anyway, this is extremely complicated, and he has an immense amount of power.
You know, if you're looking for a very bizarre undead lich bard kobold artificer, this is yours. This is what you get, guys. This is what you need. Thank you for sharing, V-Bunny. I'm not sure we can give you any feedback, but
he made me smile. Yeah, I think I don't think that we can give a lot of big feedback for this, but just I enjoyed the trip we took through it. It was cool. Oh wait, there's also
okay. What did I miss, Pete?
oh, there's Lair.
He's got lair axe?
He's got Lair.
What?
Again, like this is I think some of these
got a vampire lair.
I think some of these were taken from the vampire. Yeah, I don't know if these are the exact ones.
Wait, is he a vampire lich? Oh, he does not have lair actions. Okay,
these are just regional. Okay, so it's just using the regional effects of the lair.
No, I don't. Oh, okay. This is whack, fam. V-Bunny, thank you for sharing.
V-Bunny, you're on some shit here.
He's really fast for a kobold, 35 feet.
I want to boil down one thing in this, though, and I do want to literally come back to the grovel, cower, and beg feature.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a cool way to spice up a lich. I'm dead ass. Like I think that's such a cool thing to do because it's like that feature has so much personality on it from the kobold, and every kobold who has that loves that feature.
Well, and I love the idea. Let's just hold up because I want to stick on that, Pete, of putting that on an enemy. Right, you're battling this guy, you've knocked him down. It's, no, wait, please, don't hurt me, I give up. And the party just, huh? And then you're right, and then his minions just descend upon you from nowhere, and just you fell for my trick.
That's really cool. I recommend that if you're making undead, give those undead the racial features of the things that they used to be. Kind of like Jeremy's undead subclass. It's a cool idea and a way to like add a little extra flavor to simple stat blocks.
This is not a simple stat block, but it is a cool way to do stat block.
There's a lot to process here.
Pete, let's talk about these other guys. Garbin Quinbull. I'm going to assume that Garbin Quinbull and Happy the Killer Clown are probably going to end up being kind of similar. This sounds like a posse here. Garbin, Happy, and DJ Awesome Face. And right off the bat, oh, he's got living armor. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, I was saying, Jeremy, just because we're short on time, I was telling people that we might come back to these if we have the time. But I would really like to.
They look like they're pretty similar, I think. I'm looking at these guys here, and yeah, they're all the same kind of idea. You made an NPC monster. You made an NPC and gave them some really powerful monster features.
Yeah, I mean, those things look
and some race options.
Terrifying in that regard. I do want to look at Kurg, the mechanical powder keg. This was an artifact tier item that V-Bunny made. Or do you want to do another person and then we'll come back?
Let's just get this guy right out of the way. We're right here.
Sure. We'll do this now. Artifact tier item, Kurg, the mechanical powder keg. This is a big one. So let's start going through. Kurg is a powder keg designed by gnomes, ordinary looking from the outside, but it's got gears and gemstones that can get fiery hot or extremely cold. Interesting. Never gets dirty, no matter how many times it is used or what conditions it is placed in. Kurg makes a loud boom which can be heard from up to 300 feet away. Whenever it was struck with any form of damage, this boom sounds like part of a song to a creature attuned to Kurg, but seems to be the sound of a normal explosion to anyone else. That's very interesting. Automation. Okay, so this is when we're getting into the meat of it. And for artifact tier items, that degree of flavor text and also like half mechanics inside of it, that's pretty normal. Like usually we say flavor text light. For artifacts, yeah, go wild on flavor text. Automaton. While attuned to the item, you can use your bonus action to activate it for up to 10 minutes, allowing him to sprout legs and move up to 60 feet in the direction of your choosing into an unoccupied space. That's pretty cool. Upon arrival, Kurg will stand in the designated location until you use your bonus action again to move Kurg or to deactivate him. While activated, Kurg has an AC of 11. All damage Kurg receives is reduced to 0, and Kurg cannot be destroyed except by being swallowed and digested by the Tarask or some other ancient creature, and has no arms and legs and cannot perform any actions outside of the movement spell or by the creature attuned to it, or fire off the fire shield spell, which I assume it gets later on here. Want to take, okay, so let me just, it has an AC of 11.
Oh my goodness, this is very big. I didn't realize how far this was. It's like a 2-page NPC.
I told you, there's a lot of stuff tonight. The bonus action, Kurg, basically, you look at your little barrel minion that you're attuned to, and you kind of just tell him to go, and he sprouts little legs and walks around. It's kind of cute. I can get behind this. Compostable, Jeremy, take it.
Yeah, well, activated, Kurg and the creature attuned to him gain the benefits of the fire shield spell, but can be struck from a range or melee attack. Additionally, when Kurg is struck, instead of sending damage to the attacker, he shoots out a blast that deals 2d8 fire or cold damage to all hostile creatures within 10 feet of him. A creature who's attuned to Kurg still gains normal benefits of fire shield. All right, so cool. Fire shield is a good ability. I will say, we're getting into a really weird territory with always on spell effects like that, but that's fine. Limited usage. Once Kurg is activated, roll a d6 on a 1-5. Kurg can be activated again until the attuned user takes a long... Oh, I guess it's not unlimited uses. Never mind. Fiery nature. While attuned to Kurg, you cannot smell. And your body is
the sulfur. I actually kind of like that.
Course of 4 days, after which you become attuned to Kurg's fiery nature and are no longer burned by him. You lose your hair by the end of day 1, fingertips and
oh my goodness,
and toe tips by the end of day 2, lips and eyebrows by the end of day 3, and ears by the end of day 4. Oh my god, I love this. A regenerate spell restores lost body parts. Oh. Additionally, when attuned to Kurg, you have resistance to fire damage and proficiency in firearms.
Jeremy, that sounds like something that you would do to people. Is Karina, he burns off your hair. Now your toes are gone. Oop, there go your lips.
Kurg is a sentient neutral good butter cake with an intelligence of 17? Oh, wisdom 16 and the charisma of 13. And has like hearing and dark vision out to 120 feet. Kurg communicates by transmitting emotions to the creature attuned to it and understands every language you know. Personality. Kurg seeks the destruction of all chaotic evil in the world. Kurg will protect and defend all gnomes despite his hatred toward the evil ones, and will attempt to protect any creature attuned to him. While Kurg can be a bit of a prankster at times, he means well and has been known to do things such as place buckets of full water above partially open doors and saving kittens caught in trees.
Kurg is an absolute delight.
Destroying Kurg. It is rumored that Kurg's mechanical counterpeg can't be destroyed as long as good exists in the multiverse. Oh, buddy.
I love it. Buddy, I really honestly have fallen in love with Kurg.
Kurg is a beautiful NPC, V-Bunny, and I'm sorry, artifact tier item. And you know what? I think this is an artifact tier item. I think you've done it.
I actually agree. I agree. This seems goofy, but like this is the kind of things artifacts do. I can totally see, like, this seems like the kind of thing I would encounter in a campaign, and every player who interacts with Kurg is going to be like, I love Kurg. I must protect him with my life. Like,
Kurg coming to D&D Time Adventure near you, V-Bunny says.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe. We'll see. I love it. Thank you very much for sharing, V-Bunny. Again, this is the kind of thing Pete and I can't give you feedback on Kurg outside of it. Is very cute, and it would make a very excellent addition
really
for your
funny
home game.
And it's fun, and I can see where players would absolutely love Kurg. There's no balance that we can give you for Kurg. Kurg is your thing.
Let's look at this next one. We got a couple of things coming from By the way, thank you again, V-Bunny, for your plethora of excellent submissions. Also, the chat has clarified for me. I am the fool who did not understand. The 3 undead were the undead clown posse. Pete, that was the joke.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't know.
I am but a fool.
I don't know the ICP. All I know is that they have the ICP.
Well, let's take a look at these next options. We have a bunch of spell options for. I see. This is based on Anadolsha, the character from Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. Specifically, they are twists on spells that rely upon the use of Winsler's Ring, a magical item that allows you to, happy and funky, allows you to change one letter in a spell and to give it a new random effect. In D&D time, this is adjudicated by us, the Dungeon Masters. But Frog put together a couple of ideas of what they would look like if he had to adjudicate them and create them. So we got a whole bunch. We got Bouncer Spell. I'm sorry, this is Anadolsha's Bouncer Spell. It might be different than Pete's Bouncer Spell or my Bouncer Spell.
Yeah, so this is a third level. It's a reaction. It's kind of like a replace on counter spell here. Range 60 feet. Reaction. When you take and you see a creature within 60 feet of you casting a spell, you attempt to turn the spell the creature is casting against them. If the creature is casting a spell of third level or lower, the spell's target changes the caster. If it's a spell of fourth level or higher, make an ability check. Spells which in the area would center a point. Spells that can target more than one creature would instead only target the caster. DM's discretion may be needed in some cases. The spell fails if the caster has any immunities to any damage types or conditions the spell uses. You probably actually don't need that little extra specification in there, because if that was the case, then they would just be immune to it and you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yep.
If the spell requires a concentration check, a spell attack roll, or spell save, use your own constitution modifier, spellcasting, and spell save for the spells. Cool.
Yeah, and of course, because this is an item from the Winsler's Ring, a magical item that allows you to change the name of the counter spell, became Bouncer Spell by changing some letters. Important to note that this is absolutely not a third level spell. This is probably like a fifth level spell or
this is a much higher, much more powerful.
But with the Winsler's Ring, anything's possible.
Yeah,
so just important to note, and I think that's going to be the theme for all of these guys.
Fifth sounds pretty right. Maybe even a little bit.
I don't know. I think 6 easy 6.
Yeah, I was
maybe
realizing
even,
the problem
maybe
is, the problem
even
is
7.
The problem is with the upcasting effect. Like, I think it has to have a point. If like you were doing this seriously, it would have to have a point where it cuts out too.
Yeah, well, the problem I'd have with this, right, is it would just, for me, it wouldn't have any level where it, if I were to truly create the spell, it'd be 7th level, it probably wouldn't have any point which it auto-worked. You'd always have to roll it against the DC, I think is how I'd handle it. If I were going to like seriously make this as a spell option, because reflecting is something like Power Word Kill or Meteor Swarm is just insane.
Unfathomably powerful.
Yeah. But very cool.
Yep.
Anadolsha's Elemental Babe. This is a take on the Elemental Bane spell, but slightly different.
Elements slightly.
You conjure forth a humanoid-shaped elemental to assist you in battle. They dance around a target creature you can see within range. Their elemental form appears feminine and has a body built to your choosing. Choose one creature that you can see within range and choose one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. When the spell is cast, it's just the effects of the Elemental Bane, basically. Except... Wait. Yeah, okay. So basically, the Elemental Babe just does an extra 2d6 damage every time the damage type is dealt to the creature. And the target loses any resistance to that damage type until the spell ends. Pretty powerful. I think, again, this would be much higher than a 4th level spell.
It'd be scaled up
to me, but very cool.
Yeah. Also, that one always cracks me up. It's just a good joke.
It is a pretty good joke. I actually haven't read this one. Elemental Cane. You want to take this guy away, Pete?
Yeah, sure. You evoke certain elemental energies into your free hand, shaping them into a cane. It's similar in size to a rod, and it lasts for the duration. If you let go of the cane, it disappears, but you can evoke the cane again as a bonus action. Choose one of the damage types. When you make a melee spell attack with the cane, on a hit, the target must make a con save. On the failed save, it takes 2d6 of the chosen type, and has an extra effect based... has an extra effect based on the type. So you have a little one for all of them. Acid. Acid burns. It takes 1d6 until they take an action to get rid of it. Cold, they're covered in frost. Speed's reduced by 10 feet. Fire, similar to the acid, but with fire damage. Lightning, The target spasms twisted. The target must make a Constitution saving throw until it succeeds. The target can't take reactions, and then Thunder knocked back 10 feet from the caster. And if it fails by 5 or more, it's knocked prone. That's an interesting mechanic that I think.
I actually really like a lot of these mechanics.
Yeah, I do too.
It's actually a pretty good
sad in a
spell.
weird way. Like, yeah, I do too. No, I mean, I think that's a cool mechanic, and particularly that Thunder mechanic.
Yeah,
because
I like that a
playing
lot.
around with knockback or prone for a while, and prone I would say is pretty much better than back.
In most situations, yeah.
Back is situationally powerful, but prone's usually better.
I really like this.
I think that's a cool idea.
From a balance perspective, 4th level for an extra 2d6 damage. I think the damage is too low. Maybe that should be a 4d6 at 4th level.
The high utility of this affects that at all?
I think it does, but I still think 2d6 is a little too low.
What about
but obviously it's based on the Elemental Bane spell, so I guess
2d6 and then 2d6. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty close though. I think it's a good. It's well done.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Oh wait,
thank you for sharing.
And then at higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 5th level or higher, you can make an additional melee spell attack for each slot above 4th. That's crazy.
Oh wow! Oh yeah, that gets too powerful.
Insane. Yeah.
Yikes. You know, if that were for every 2 levels above 4th,
yeah, that'd be the way to go.
You're getting closer to. Actually, you're getting there. I think that would be it.
6 and 8. Yep, that's the way to
go. But for every level, that would be. Oh man, that's powerful. That's oof.
And last here we have Anadocious Chatter, which is a 2nd level spell based on Shatter.
I love a strip of newspaper headline.
That's
beautiful component. I love cute components like that make you smile.
Sudden Cacophony involves various echoing chatter, painfully intense, affects all creatures from a point of your choice within range. Each creature in the radius must make an int save, and they take psychic damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful. Creature made of inorganic material, such as stone crystal, has advantage on the saving throw. Creature capable of telepathy has disadvantage on it and is stunned. I actually think that's a really clever little take on Shatter. The fact that it plays specifically on Shatter works to its advantage here, I think.
I agree, and I actually really, really like this. A creature capable of telepathy has disadvantage on the save. I legitimately think that's an incredibly good mechanic. I
thought so too.
I really, really like that you included that, Frog. Very cool. Very, very cool. 2nd level might be too low, but I'd also be fine.
Yeah.
Because psychic damage is so good.
Psychic damage is a good damage, but still thunder damage.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, it's fine. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. I'm dumb. This is great. This is just perfect as is.
That's a good spell. Let us...
Thank you for sharing those, bro. I like that a lot. If you use Chatter in a game with me in D&D time using your Windsor's Ring, I'm going to let you use it just like this.
You can do psychic damage. Agreed.
Yeah. This is just how it's going to work. I'm just going to rule it how you did it.
Veil of Aurora.
Oh boy. What happened?
There's a lot here. Also, these there's 2 items here from Frog. I'd like to just move on to the sword one because we already did a bunch of Frog stuff, and then we can maybe circle back because I know there's actually a lot more to get through.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, guys. And again, we like all of these. We love that you're taking care of the Blair Empire. Beautiful. Very cute
that's
things.
funny.
But especially these legendary items take a very, very long time.
But the legendary item we will look at next is Sword Coheres, who we haven't done anything from yet. He made the Interstellar Helm, which is a legendary item, requires attunement match. Pretty much all legendary items will. There can be exceptions, but most will. The helmet, despite being shaped like a heavy helmet, is non-metallic in nature and light as a feather, allowing any class to wear it. Interesting. When worn, players gain a +1 AC, an advantage on resisting charm spells, and advantage on constitution saves. The wearer of this helm can also use their action to call upon the power of the stars and perform one of the following abilities. You cannot use one ability while another is active. So the first one here is Grace of the Stars. Call upon the stars to bless a player or companion other than yourself, giving them 1d8 bonus on their first attack and damage roll and any saving throw for 1 minute. This ability cannot be used again until the next dawn. Wait, so call upon the stars to bless a player other than yourself. So giving them first 1d8 to their first attack, damage roll, or saving throw for 1 minute. I'm sorry, and saving throw. So their first attack, their first damage roll, and first saving throw all work. I wasn't sure if that was once you've done one of them, it goes away, or the first one each round. It's a little unclear there, but it's a cool effect.
This is where you'd probably it would definitely benefit the clarity aspect to look at spells like the bless spell actually for the convention of how this stuff is typically written.
Yeah, just because I'm not sure the number of how frequently it's supposed to be applied.
Yeah, and it looks like that's what he was going for, saying in chat. It's like an upgraded bless that's a little more restrictive.
So it's just working like.
Yeah, is this an action or a bonus action?
Action.
Okay, cool.
Stardust. Magically scatter stardust in the air, creating a 15-foot field that heals any allies within range by 1d4 per turn per 1 minute. The ability cannot be used again until the next dawn, so you create a little healing cloud that sits in an area. That's very powerful. 15 feet needs a specification of circle or cube. Or, I was imagining, in my mind, I imagined 15-foot radius sphere was what I assumed.
I was imagining like a square, but either way, that's pretty strong.
Yes.
Kind of like a little healing spirit-like feature. But on a legendary item, maybe it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Especially since it's a once per day thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah. The thing I was worried about with it was the potential for people just going down inside of it and then just keeping getting back up every turn.
Yeah, that's definitely potentially an issue.
But it's still a legendary item, so you can forgive stuff like that a lot of the time. Starfall, magically summon a shooting star, dealing 5d8 fire damage, 5d4 force damage to everything in a 10-foot space. Additionally, DC 15 dex save must be made by any creature within 20 feet or be pushed back by 10 feet by the force of the impact. That's really good also, but it's also, this effect cannot be used again for a week, but it's also once a week. The only thing I would do is make the 5d4 force damage, just make it 5d8 for simplicity's sake.
Yeah, I know you're looking at like probably magic missile on that, but I think that is exactly what you're saying. Probably the situation where it's easiest to just do the same damage type. Or the same die type, rather.
And I like this little quote that you have here. Have you ever looked at the stars and wondered what it was like to just pluck one out of the sky? Let me show you. That sounds cute. Like the line that the person who created this item would have get. Like I imagine that being a demigod of some kind that bestows this item upon the player.
Or the villain wearing it. That's their villain monologue.
Oh, right no.
Battle. I will say, one of the things I really love in magic items are this effect can't be used again for a week. It really makes it feel way more legendary as like a situational like thing. So very cool.
Specify the type of area on the 10-foot space as well. Agreed there on the weak thing, and it's a cool item.
Yeah,
it's a legendary item for sure.
I love it. I really like the idea like the helm almost has the stars on it, as if staring through a starry night.
Sword put a little image of the of what he thought, like not the helm itself, but like the texture that he wanted the image to be. And it's cool.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah,
it's a heavenly night sky.
Very cool, my dude. Thank you again for sharing, as always.
Thanks so much, Sword.
All right. What are we looking at now?
Next, we have 5 things from Cherry. Cherry
looks
Rosia.
like. Well, I have a lot of stuff. Can you guys work on one volume of Menesto's spells or one subclass? Is my race?
Let's do the race. I think we might be able to handle maybe the whole race, but at least one subclass on the race we can definitely look at today for the Gremlin here. And we can look at the race option itself. Rosie, you put out content at a rate that I cannot comprehend. I don't know if you have a backlog of content that you're sharing with us or if you're creating this every week, but you work so fast.
My goodness.
You create faster than I can read.
So much. Holy moly. Power to you. That's a lot of creative juice flowing.
Yes. I recommend people that you look at Cherry's stuff. Like, I know there's some stuff that needs polish, but just the raw amount of creativity that we're seeing. Like Menesto's Goods is a pamphlet that Cherry shared with everyone in the workshop, and
Very cool.
it's very cool. It's an entire. Oh, I knocked my phone into the trash can. It's an entire with a layout for this character Monasto's shop, their custom spells, all the magic items that they carry, all these like magical food stuffs and baked goods that they can make. More
very cool.
that I'm not mentioning. It's 26 pages of content. It's wild the rate at which you create stuff, Cherry. Could never do that myself. But let's look at the Gremlin race option.
Yeah, let me start it off, Pete.
Yeah,
Gremlin are a race of small, mischievous humanoids that have rabbit-like ears on a dog-like head with a short snout. They are taller than halflings, but shorter than dwarves, having large paws, their hands, and kangaroo-like legs. They're normally covered in brown, gray, or gold, white, or even dark blue fur. Gremlins, are they gremlins or gremlins, are fascinated with machinery and they tinker away at whatever they can find. These gremlins were brought to the Clockworks, an interdimensional dungeon, which is rather peaceful by unknown means and serve as its builders and repairmen. However, their efforts are often marred by their own tendency to break what they try to fix, or in many cases to blow it up completely, as they're fond of explosives. It is believed that gremlins get their secret orders from the core itself, a mysterious object said to be a god. But for now, their secret is safe, as the gremlin language is completely indecipherable to any other intelligent race. Oh boy,
there's
a lot of lore in there. A lot of lore.
There's a couple. I think they're gremlins.
Well, whatever.
Gremlin, or they're gremlins. There's
cool.
the gremlin or gremlin. Let us know.
The funny thing about gremlins, is what I'm saying, speed. Despite their size, gremlin are rather light and have a walking speed of 35 feet.
Ooh.
And they can use the rush action at the cost of your bonus action once per short rest, and gain a +2 to initiative. Again, dash is the action you probably want, and there's some convention of, once per short rest, they can take the dash action as a bonus action, I think is the text for that. +2 initiative is a little funky for them.
Yes, well, I think they want the rush action to do that, and since initiative happens at the start of combat, you wouldn't really be able to take an action to gain the initiative in the way that it's phrased. Mm-hmm. So I think Jeremy's right that you would want to, I would take it out of the speed section and make it its own little feature, and maybe giving them the ability to dash once a day as a bonus action would be a cool little thing that you could tack on these guys.
Yeah, and maybe if the direction you're going for is like they're rushing into the fight, right? It's just on the first turn of combat, the gremlin can take the dash action as a bonus action.
I love that. I think,
and that way you don't have to worry about, they can just, whenever they're starting combat, they can just do it. And that's a cool little thing that I think would really make them unique and capture that, like, they're rushing into the fight kind of vibe. Also, hello, Dungeon Master Painter. Thank you for the raid, my friend.
Well, thank you so much.
Welcome, everybody.
I love that little thing you just came up with. That was really good.
Well, again, inspired by what they were going for. The gremlins serve a godlike being called the Core, though through the Core, they strive to innovate and advance as much as possible, normally being lawful good, but sometimes chaotic as their love for explosions leak out.
There it is. Good amount of flavor text. It is a little bit dependent on...
Very lore dependent here. So this is definitely
lore that I think you have, but that a person wouldn't necessarily be able to intuit by reading it. So it would work. I mean, I can see where this is just made for your home game.
Indeed.
And
it's still
it
very
works
cool.
perfectly well as that. Yeah.
And hopefully other people that are watching this can see it and be like, wow, that's really cool. I'm going to take little bits of this for my game.
Maybe I'll find out what the Core means to me.
Every game, right? Every Dungeons and Dragons world, or most Dungeons and Dragons world, have their little race that makes explosives. Age. As a gremlin, you have an approximate lifespan of 120 to 200, whereby they will go through spiritual and physical trail. If they manage to pass the test set by the Core, your lifespan is tripled.
That's very interesting.
Interesting.
Again, lore dependent, but cool. If you're playing in your setting, I mentioned.
Ability score increase. As a gremlin, you're extremely cute for a medium creature. You gain a +2 to charisma and +2 to any stat that you choose. A decrease -2 to constitution.
Ooh.
Highly recommend getting rid of the penalty to constitution.
I would
also stipulate that the other +2 can't be to charisma. Otherwise, everyone will just do a +4 charisma because that's really, really good.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, that is game-breakingly good.
And consider, I don't know what else is on there, but you probably want to consider, instead of +2 and +2 and then +1 to any other of your choice.
Yeah.
You're more inclined to go +1 to 2 other of your choice
Yeah.
than the 1+2.
I'll say the ability score is one of those places that you can take away power to give lots more options. And I can tell just by the length of stuff here and the sub races and all that, there's a lot of power that's going to be on these other sub races and other options. So I would really consider maybe even just saying you gain a +2 to charisma. Stop it there.
Actually, Jeremy, these are not actually
Oh, are these different options?
These are prestige subclasses for this race.
What? Holy crap.
These are gremlin-specific subclasses. There's a ranger subclass, an artificer subclass, and
right,
a fighter subclass.
Interesting.
Yeah, the rare prestige. I actually I'm low-key a huge fan of prestige subclasses, which I'm saying that term a lot. It basically means a subclass that you can only take if you're a specific thing. There's basically 1 in 5e, and it is the Battle Rager Dwarf.
Bladesong Wizard as well.
Bladesong Wizard is also an elven one, which they both came out. Makes sense. They both came out in the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. They don't really do them that often, which is probably good for design, but they are really cool. So, like, as homebrew, I'm really into it, kind of. Anyway, let's continue with the subrace. Tenderfoot.
As a gremlin, you have meat pads on your feet, much like a cat's foot, walking silently when you can walk on snow and ice without slipping or sinking. When you walk on a pressure sensor plates, the traps will not react to your weight. You also have proficiency in stealth, and fall damage is reduced by half. There's a lot on there. I would get rid of the pressure plate deal, just because, like, that's a really weird thing to have on a race.
It's very specific, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little too specific to me, I think.
Stealth proficiency, and then the idea of the fall damage being reduced by half. That is pretty powerful, but not like so powerful that I think you couldn't put it on something. A better way of phrasing that, for the record, would be you have resistance to damage taken from falling. Would probably be the way to phrase that.
Let's look at this next one. Oh,
yeah, that's all. That's basically it. You can go on.
Yeah, it's cool. I dig it. Iron Claw. Gremlins have large pawed hands, which have razor sharp claws. You have the claw natural weapon that deals d6 slash or plus strength or dexterity. The claws will replace any unarmed strikes and can be treated as a dual weapon. Interesting. The claws will be replaced every month, and you get 8 small hooks when they do replace. Each claw is about 3 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. I'm not sure. I guess the idea is you lose your claws and they grow new ones, kind of like antlers.
Interesting.
And I think the text you want for this dual weapon that you can dual wield with them, which I don't know why more natural weapons don't have this, but I think light. Yeah, you want to say these natural weapons have the light property and can be used to make unarmed strikes. I think is the text you want there. Because I just don't know why they don't already have that. Yeah, that's just like that's other races don't have that, and it's dumb. This is good.
And also, on the subject of that, instead of d6 slash plus strength or dex, you'd want to say they deal a d6 slashing damage, and then when you're saying they have the light property, you would also want to say that they have the finesse property. Because that will it's assumed that you can use strength, and then the finesse property will tell them that they can use dex instead.
Absolutely.
Prowling hands. As a gremlin, you are good with maneuvering your large hands. You gain proficiency in sleight of hand, 1 life skill of your choice, and making or figuring how certain clockwork works. Life skills, I assume, reference a particular mechanic that you use somewhere else. It's not convention in 5e, so I don't know what that would mean necessarily. Or unless life skill is like an a tool proficiency. Might be what that means.
No, I don't know what it is. Well, either way, I think the vibe here, what we're getting to is, at this point, there's a lot on this class, right? They're getting 2 weapons, they get proficiency in stealth, they get They can't slip and fall, right? They can walk stealthily. They reduce fall damage by half. Right now, we put a lot on this, so we got to start thinking about like maybe where we can maybe cut some stuff back. I think that life skills thing is something to maybe cut out for a balanced perspective. The clockworks, I think you want Tinker's tools is the tool proficiency that makes the most sense there. It's a home rule thing for life skills. Cool, gotcha.
Okay, cool. The next one's thick fur. Again, it's already overloaded. Just to discuss this phrasing of the feature a little bit, you gave resistance to cold damage, which is a pretty potent ability, so it's a lot of impact. And then you had this +3 to armor class as a natural add, another +1 every 5 levels, since they can't wear armor and are unable to their weak build. This is a really... You should look at a natural armor feature from the lizard folk if you wanted to give them that, and that was an important part of this. Natural armor from lizard folk. What else has it, Jeremy?
Turtle has it. If you want to give them a set armor class, that might be an easier way to handle it.
Both are options, but this phrasing of it would get a little bit complicated, and as phrased has the potential to interact in really negative ways with other armor features. If you wanted to give them a feature that prevented them from using armor, I think you would have to have that explicitly stated somewhere. Since they refuse to wear armor or are unable to due to their weak build, it's just a little funky of text. And there are certain things like mithril armor in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that would interact with that in a weird way. But that's a minutia nitpick. Small build, I like that. You may squeeze through space though you're a small creature and have no disadvantages in tight spaces. Holy crap. That's very strong, actually. Squeezing rules are really funky. I haven't interacted with them much in any games.
I don't really let's jump out of this first one, the Trapmaster Ranger.
And let us know. We probably only have time for one of these subclasses. So if there's a particular one that you want, Razia, we'll stop. We'll do the Trapmaster, and then we'll stop and switch to that one if there's another one you'd rather us look at. The Artificer is probably not the best one for us to go to because I don't really know it that well personally. I don't know about you, Jeremy. I think
I can't really talk on the Artificer well.
Yeah, I don't feel that confident discussing Artificer balance, but Ranger balance, Jeremy, I bet you feel very confident discussing Ranger balance.
I do. You gain proficiency with Thieves' Tools if you don't already have it. Awesome. Cool. Because of your training, you have advantage on spotting traps as well as disarming them with your Thieves' Tools. You're also capable of salvaging any parts of traps where practical. You take half the time to set up any trap. However, if you take twice as much time to set up your traps, they are to spot plus proficiency to trap DC. All trap DCs equal spell save DC.
Is this interacting with a particular mechanic, or is this a mechanic that they're using to represent traps?
This is a very genericized concept of trap. There really aren't traps in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons in the way that like player characters can set them up. That's not a core thing in 5e. So this, I think, is probably referring to what would be homebrew, like trap items that you'd set up. I know.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was something like a trap DC in the Dungeon Master's Guide that I wasn't thinking of.
There are, but
there's traps and there's DCs for them, but I didn't know if there was a general.
There aren't player character traps. No.
My question was trap DC a keyword anywhere in the Dungeon Master's Guide?
I don't think so.
I did not think so either, but I wasn't certain. So
there is, but very funky. Yeah, exactly. The DCs in the Dungeon Master's Guide are meant as like guidelines for a Dungeon Master to say, if your party is of X level, right, this is a good DC for their traps, and this is a good amount of damage. And that's meant to be damage that would be dealt to the party. I think if you were to do this, what might be a direction to go is look at, I know in a hunting trap, I think. Yeah, V-Buddy's got a great idea, right? The ball bearings, the caltrops, these are items that do have trap stuff. Hunting trap is an item that Rangers get, and maybe that's what you were looking at here, which has some mechanics for it as a trap and how it works. So it might be worthwhile to like specifically reference those items, maybe, or to maybe homebrew a couple of example traps, because yeah, it's a little funky. Oh, does the Thieves' Tools rule in Xanathar's Guide have rules for creating traps? I am not familiar with those. Thank you, Dude Man, for mentioning that. But if those are the case, and that's what you're referring to, Razia,
I remember reading that section in that book, but I
don't know if I've ever read that section. Or that specific part.
Yeah, there's a whole elaborate, and there's like a million example traps.
Wow.
It felt more like for dungeon masters creating dungeons more so than something like this, but because there were a lot of things like arrow and wall, like, you know, not quite put this on the ground really quick. But let's look at the combat traps at level 7. So this is the level 7 feature. Is it level 7 that they get it? Is that typical?
Yeah, I'll check that. You go ahead, Pete.
All right. So during a short rest, you're able to create 1d4 plus your wisdom, a number of traps that you can set up in a single action. They can be recovered after combat if they've not been triggered, and you can replace one during a short rest if you have materials to build them. When setting a trap, you can make a stealth check to go unnoticed. While setting them, creatures that have targeted the previous round have advantage on spotting you. These are the traps. There's a poison dart trap. When triggered, a number of poison darts are fired in a 15-foot line towards the target that triggered it. All creatures must succeed on a dex save or take 46 damage and be poisoned. Just a quick off the bat, poison is, you need probably an end status for that condition. Probably until the end of your next turn would be the way to go on that, not just...
Yep. Or even, for the next minute. And they can re-roll the save would be another way of handling it.
Yeah, re-roll the save, but it's already pretty powerful, so I would err on the side of just one round. Foot clamp trap, the classic bear trap. When triggered, creature takes 2d10 slashing damage, and the creature must make a strength save versus spell save DC or be immobilized. Again, that's probably you want to use a restrained condition.
Yeah, restrained is a condition
with the set escape DC equal to your spell save DC.
Yep.
Smoke trap creates a 30-foot radius smoke cloud in the area. Difficult terrain and creatures inside are blinded. Rather than blinding the creatures inside, I would recommend just saying the area is heavily obscured. You could look at the fog cloud spell. And tripping trap. When triggered, all creatures in a 10-foot radius must make a dexterity saving throw versus spell save DC or be knocked prone.
Then Claymore Mine.
Claymore Mine has no details yet, but I know these are all everything's in the workshop here. This is all work in progress.
So one thing I'd say about this, it looks like, and I totally understand now, your level 3 feature was meant, I think, to work with these combat traps.
Yes,
I totally get that now. I might recommend giving them like something at 3rd level, or maybe just moving that aspect of the 3rd level feature to the 7th level part, because it's just a little weird. If you get it at 3rd level, then you can't do anything with it till 7th level. I think.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the ranged ones. We'll go back through and kind of do a
ranged combat traps at level 11. Your combat traps can now be thrown to a range of 30 feet. These traps could have a chance of being unnoticed by enemies that have not attacked you on the previous round. You also have access to more traps. Whirling Blade Trap. All creatures in 5 feet of the trigger trap made a dexterity saving throw or be dealt 48 slashing damage. Sticky Bombs. When triggered, all creatures in a 5-foot radius will be restrained by strong glue. Then you succeed in strength save to escape.
Oh, that's clever. That's not where I thought that was going, but that's cute.
Berserk Gas Trap. When triggered, a cloud of gas is released, and all creatures in 20-foot radius make a con saving throw or be put in a berserk state. Think you need to define what berserk necessarily means. I would recommend maybe looking at the Crown of Madness spell might be a cool idea. Although Crown of Madness is a little funky. But something like that
effect might work.
Emulation Trap. When triggered, all creatures in 15 radius are covered in a sticky fluid and set on fire. Oh no. They take 10 fire damage per turn until they take a turn to put themselves out. Yikes.
That's very big.
That definitely needs a saving throw. And I think 10 fire damage at a 15-foot, that's an outrageous amount of damage. Very, very powerful.
It's really good, especially well, let's look at the last feature here, and then we'll go through.
Stealthed traps.
Your traps are now nearly impossible to detect. To detect your normal trap, spell save DC +5 to spot trap. Creatures used to just get a +5 against your spell save DC to someone trying to make a perception check to receive them. Creatures also get disadvantage to spot you setting up any of your combat traps, even if they have targeted you the previous turn. You can also remotely trigger any of your combat traps, and traps with an area effect are doubled in range if remotely triggered. A lot of things going on in once here, and they all kind of tie back into like smashing more power onto these traps. It's very strong. Overall thoughts, Jeremy?
I think the overall concept is, interestingly enough, you managed to do something that I didn't think was possible in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which is you made a subclass that has some mechanics that deal with traps, with the idea of you've basically pre-made the traps and you just chuck them, or you just quickly drop them and place them in ways that maybe creatures wouldn't be able to notice.
That works.
I think that works conceptually really well in a way that this actually has some legs on it, some real potential. Which, of course, when I say it has some legs on it, I mean it's got some potential to eventually evolve into something that really would have a space in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, would have its own place to really live on its own.
Yeah, I would want this to not be a Gremlin-specific subclass. I would want this to be just a Ranger subclass. I think it's completely worthy. And I mean, this would be what it is in the context of your campaign, but I think there is the space, and Ranger's the place to do it for a trap-based subclass.
Yeah, I think the thing it needs, what it's lacking, is primarily on the balance level. Some of these things are more balanced than others, and things will need to be toned down and adjusted a little bit. And from a design and implementation perspective, it needs a little bit of extra mechanical balance here, a little bit of extra there. It needs some supporting phrasing to make things clear in certain places. Like, how long are creatures poisoned on the poison dart trap, and things like that. So I think that's just something to consider with these guys. What triggers a trap exactly? I'm just not sure exactly even what necessarily triggers it. Is it when the creature enters the space, or doesn't actually like define that anywhere? And so clarifying those couple little things, I think, would really, really help.
Absolutely. Getting some of those early traps in is going to be a big one too. Just so you start. Yeah. This seems like a subclass where you should be making traps from the moment you take the subclass, and the first feature doesn't quite let you do that. But
yeah.
But
so maybe maybe like 1 or 2 simple traps could be cool.
On the subject of space, you found a cool space. No two ways about that.
I'm not sure Ranger is necessarily the sub. Well, it might be fine to put it on. I guess it's as good as any.
It felt so right to me because of Hearthstone, honestly, and World of Warcraft. When I think of Rangers in that game, they're known for their traps. So and they're these kind of traps. So that worked for me, but that's part of my cultural background that hit for me.
Yeah, no, I agree there. And of course, throwing traps are cool. Rosie was saying they trigger within melee range. That might have been something I missed. I appreciate the clarification.
It is very late, and Jeremy, we have a whole class to go over last year.
Yeah. So thank you, Cherry, again, Razia, for the submission here, for sharing your Gremlin. I know there are other Gremlin subclasses and so much more stuff to go over.
Cherry, and absolutely next week, one thing sorry to interrupt you, Jeremy. You finish what you're saying.
I was going to say, just for everyone just aware, there's a whole bunch of awesome stuff that we really love to look at. We love that you're all sharing this awesome content and this creativity. We're not going to be able to get to everything every time, but we're going to do our best to go back and look at stuff when we can. But with the quantity of stuff that you guys put out, we will not always be able to get to everything. But we will definitely take the time to try and make sure we share at least something from everybody every week if we can. unless we start getting like hundreds of people submitting tons of cool homebrew, then we might not be able to get to everyone.
We'll probably have to.
We're going to do our best.
Completed works, but we'll do our best. But here we have this last one was the Elementalist, which was created by Apex.
Did you have something you were going to say to Razia?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I forgot Razia. Next week, we're going to circle back around to status conditions and character quirks. Absolutely. I recommend people check that out. I think it's an awesome idea. There were some that I'd like to, that maybe need some changes in execution, but I think there's definitely room in 5e for coming up with your own cool status conditions. And like these little character quirks things that you have. I really liked that idea. And I think there's just a lot of merit in like exploring that space from a homebrew standpoint. So I want to circle back around to that next week. I'm just highlighting it because I want to talk about that one too.
Mm-hmm. All right, Pete, let's
Highlighted.
dive in here. Elementalist. So this was based off of the Elementalist that I looked at last week from Halo Dude. Thank you, Halo Dude, of course, for sharing. And it looks like you've taken this class, this subclass that was a subclass for Sorcerer, and you've transmuted it into its own class at this point, I think.
Yes.
Pete, take us away.
Let's do it. So basic features. Oh my goodness, we've never done a class before. We're gonna skip the table because we just need to look at the stuff as it comes up. But they got a spellcasting feature. Hit points. 1d6.
Looks like they're a full caster. Is what it looks
full
like.
caster. Arcane caster. That's focused on the elements. 1d6 hit point. That's standard for full casters of the arcane variety. Wizards, sorcerers. This makes sense for that too. Proficiency, light armor. Okay, they can wear simple armor. That's maybe atypical, but not insignificant, or not like
not ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not crazy. And simple weapons. That's standard. Tools, none. Fair enough. Saving throws are con and intelligence. So interesting. This is going to be an intelligence based caster. That's not what I expected, but it's an interesting way to go. Skills, choose 2 from perception, survival, intimidation, history, nature, and investigation.
Seems fine.
Yep, to me as well.
Good choices. So I don't understand survival so much, actually, but maybe that'll make sense as we keep going.
Yeah, it's hard to. Some of these are hard to judge without seeing the full breadth. Planar magic. Okay, so this is their spellcasting feature, planar magic, I think. Wait. Yes. Okay, this is it. You're proficient in the Arcana skill. So you just get Arcana for free. That seems like you might want to make that a feature rather than putting it in with the spellcasting. Maybe. Cantrips. You get 3 cantrips from the elemental list. 4th cantrip at 4th, 5th at 10th. Is standard procedure on that to just say by the cantrip table, or do they specify when you get cantrips in those usually?
I'm not sure, but if I would just look at what the other classes have for that, and it's probably good.
Yep, look at convention. Preparing and casting spells. Okay, so this is, I think, where it's going to start getting different here. Your arcane energies are so intensely bound to you, you generate spell crystals. Interesting. These crystals contain your spell slots. I'm getting tired. And the arcane knowledge by which you cast your spells. These crystals are of varying sizes, indicating the spell slot levels. In order to cast these spells, you focus your arcane energy through a spell crystal. The spell you cast will etch the spell crystal with an arcane rune, releasing the energy and rendering the crystal inert.
Very interesting. So the idea is they kind of like grow on you, kind of like mineral deposits in caves, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
It's a very neat concept.
Yeah.
I think it's a very cool flavor there.
Agreed. I was just trying to think, does this have mechanical implications? And I think that is just flavor. That's very cool, though.
I would you probably want to put the word inert and valueless, just as a note at the end. Just as a stipulation that you can't go and sell your spent arcane crystals.
Yeah, probably. Certainly can't hurt. The elementalist table shows how many spell slots you have to cast your elementalist spells of first level and higher. Cast one that's all standard. You prepare spells choosing from your elemental spell list. When you do so, choose a number of spells equal to. So they're a prepare spells class. They know all of the spells and they can switch them up when they complete a rest.
Sounds cool.
Yep, I like that a lot. Spellcasting ability, so it's just D8 plus proficiency bonus plus int. Spellcasting focus. You can use an arcane focus as spellcasting focus for your elemental spells. On cantrip versus. So actually, it's all pretty standard here.
No, there's a big difference. You can change your list of prepared spells, and I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought that was. I was reading the next part right where it's 1 minute per spell level, and I thought it was going to be like you can just spend a minute per spell level to change spells out. I was like, holy moly! But that's not it. I'm blind. Sorry, guys.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
all
so
standard.
everything's
Everything's pretty typical up
yeah,
to there.
everything's the same on.
You gave them cantrip versatility from the
Um,
UA, and I don't remember if that was for all spellcasters or just for the cleric.
I think it was for all.
All right. Well, if it was for all, I mean, yeah, include it. No reason not to.
But I also
ability score
don't see a
increases.
problem with it there.
No issues. I mean, this is 9th level. That's weird.
I'm
wondering why you have
it's just a
9th
typo.
level.
It's supposed to be 19th. I guarantee you. Yeah.
I see that it just fixed
Oh,
it.
I did that.
Oh, I don't have edit rights, Pete. I dig it. All right.
Suggested.
Cool. Yeah, no issues. Yeah, it's all typical.
Proficiency versatility. All right, so 3rd level is where it starts to.
Yeah, we're into
go
the actual class now, or the actual features.
So my first thought is, I assume this is because it's not done quite yet. But so far between 1st and 2nd level, it doesn't have anything that defines it as an elementalist. It just is the spellcasting suite. So I'd really like to see some stuff that starts to tell me what it is that makes the elementalist special in levels 1 and 2.
Yes, absolutely.
But I would like to look at Arcane Shunt at 3rd level here as the first unique elementalist feature.
At third level,
I'll take it.
At 3rd level, you can store arcane energy inside yourself like a battery. This is known as an arcane shunt. Within your arcane shunt, you gain a pool of d4s equal to half your elemental's level. When you cast a spell with your elemental affinity, you can add up to 2 d4s of extra damage to your roll as a bonus action. Also, as a bonus action, you can add a single d4 to a ranged spell attack. You gain these d4s whenever you finish a long rest. Adding damage as a bonus action is really wonky. I would say, that makes more sense almost as a reaction or just when you deal damage and you don't have to have an action economy on it. Like a smite. But I think that's the vibe we're kind of going for here. And yeah, that's pretty cool. I dig it. A lot of spell or classes, right, have a caveat. This damage can only be dealt once per turn. Or something, or you deal it to one creature so that you're not dealing this extra damage to everything in an AoE. Because dealing an extra 2d4s at 3rd level here, right? 2d4s in addition to your normal burning hands, you're almost doubling the power of the burning hands. I mean, not really, but it's still quite a bit more powerful. That's something to just consider.
Something here that I'm seeing it already, and I want to actually skip ahead because it references an ability called Elemental Affinity. And that is
you get it
later on. They get that at level 4, and they choose an element: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder, and they have an affinity for a particular element. Which there's no heavy.
Yeah, you can't reference an ability that you don't have yet in the feature. So maybe that's something to. Maybe this is a new thing that your Arcane Shunt gets at 4th level when you get Elemental Affinity, right? Rather than honestly, being part of the core Arcane Shunt.
Let's talk Elemental. I'm going to skip past Mystic Infusions and go straight to Elemental Affinity here.
Okay.
At 4th level, you can choose one element between acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. You gain affinity to this element, giving you a damage reduction equal to your intelligence modifier to this element.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to rephrase that as when you take damage, you may reduce it by an amount equal to your intelligence modifier. Might be a better way of saying it. Because is damage reduction key phrase in?
No, it's not.
Okay, yeah. So you might want to rephrase that to reflect that. But and then you get more elemental affinities. That seems like something you might want to give them earlier.
Yeah, this sounds like something they should get at 3rd level and then get more over time.
I was saying that you need more stuff to define it early on. That seems like a great level 1 feature, honestly, to me.
I agree. Resistance to a damage type isn't really game breaking at level 1 because characters aren't dealing with damage types at level 1. You know,
and
the worst is a method.
It's not even as powerful as resistance. It's
way more powerful than resistance level 1.
Is it
at level 1? Oh yeah.
I would think resistance
-3 damage is so much stronger than resistance at level 1. But it's not game breaking still. You know, you look at what elemental creatures deal damage at level 1. Mephits, 1d4 plus 1 damage. Reducing it by 3 it does no damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot more significant, but
yeah. But still, I agree with Pete. Having this at level 1, that's the strat.
Yeah, and then because you don't want to stack everything onto like the ability score increase sections too. You want like gradual increases, and that's where they kind of are at the moment. But Mystic Infusions, that was the feature after the Arcane Shunt, and then also
and it looks like. Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like this elemental affinity is the core feature that like is just going to completely go throughout everything with your Mystic Infusions. I understand now. I was just trying to understand a little bit better. I would recommend not using the word infusions, if only because that's already a key word for the artificers.
Yeah.
So you might want to just come up with a different one there. Pete, go ahead. Sorry, take them away.
Yeah, when you reach 3rd level, you're able to absorb some of the mystical energies around you, allowing you to choose which way you'd focus on using the elements. Choose from the list of mystical infusions. Your choice grants you features at 3rd level, and again at 7th, 8th, 15th, and 18th level. These features include spells and a second way to use your Arcane Shunt.
I would say additional ways to use your Arcane Shunt.
Yes. This is the subclass.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's definitely got a build your own kind of vibe. This feels a lot like the Warlock Invocations kind of direction you're going for here. So I'm interested to see these infusions.
No, I think that the infusions are the names. That's what you call the subclass.
Oh,
that's what it was. I was with you. I thought they were good because of we were thinking that was our confusion because of the artificer, actually, which is a good reason why you should change the name of infusions.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was not following that at all. Okay, so that is the subclass. Cool. I gotcha.
Okay, and then it looks like these are going to be the kind of load-bearing elements of this class because you get 5 features. Choice grants you features at 3rd level. If you're going to give them this at 3rd level, I think it'd be cool to give them the Arcane Shunt at 2nd level. And then you'll have level 1, you get this core thing. Level 2, they get the Arcane Shunt. And then level 3, they get their subclass where they get a new way to use their Arcane Shunt. That progression makes a lot of sense to me personally.
Agreed. Let's look at this binder. You infuse the mystical energies around yourself into a more close quarters focus, gaining the ability to directly charge your weapons and armor for a time, giving them enhanced abilities. I would get rid of the meta kind of idea of a close quarters focus. When you were talking about what the flavor of a subclass is, that shouldn't be a direct, unless you're talking about a fighter who is like, I am a fighter and I get up on your grill and that's my fighting style. Like, I don't know, that doesn't quite work for me aesthetically. The rest of it, right, gaining the ability to directly charge your weapons and armor for a time, given them enhanced abilities, that does work for me. I would just cut out the more close quarters focused part because it just feels a little meta, I guess, of a thought. What do you think, Pete?
I agree 100%. One more minor nitpick: rather than gaining the ability to directly charge your weapons and armor for a time, I would just say to directly charge, get rid of the word your, because you don't actually have them yet until you've taken it, which I know is a small nitpick, but I just think the phrasing works better. If it's getting the ability to directly charge weapons and armor for a time would work better. That's super nitpicky.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I said it, honestly.
You get medium armor and martial weapons. And you can use your intelligence for your attack and damage rolls with melee weapons.
That's spooky. But it depends on what you do later, but binding everything to one stat is always spooky.
The one qualm I have just right off the bat so far, this feels super artificer right now. You're using spells to power, like from the flavor of you're using your magic to charge up your weapons and armor, and you're going to wear armor and wield melee weapons. This feels very artificial, but I'm interested to see where it goes.
Let's see where it goes, yeah.
Elemental prowess. You gain the ability to lace arcane energies deep within items, such as weapons, armor, or the arcane focus. This can be applied to you or an ally's items, making them temporarily magical. Items charged sway count for +1 for 2d4 hours, and you can choose an element to imbue these items with from acid, fire, lightning, and thunder. On a weapon, it gains 1d4 bonus damage. On an armor, it reduces the damage from one of the 5 elements by the wearer's proficiency bonus. And on an arcane focus, it gains a +1 bonus to spell attack, as well as 1d4 bonus damage to spells damage. These bonuses become permanent when you gain your element, when you first get your elemental affinity, and increase to a +2 bonus again at 7th level, and +3 at 15. Oh, gee, so you just permanently do this.
When do you get your elemental affinity? Oh, that's supposed to be at level 4, but we moved that.
Yeah.
That's probably just too good to ever give this to someone permanently and just have that be a passive effect.
Yeah, again, it reminds me a lot about the Forge Cleric. They get 1+1 that they can pass around. This is, what, how many? How many do you get? It looks like you can just do this infinitely. Looks like he says you only get 1, is what Haley's saying. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is a little funky to me. I'm just not sure I understand where this really differentiates itself from both the Forge Cleric's idea of I'm blessing this. I mean, it's the same concept, right? But I guess I'm just not totally following.
Let's talk melee shunt. Using 2 of your, I'm with you, Jeremy there. But let's talk the melee shunt. Using 2 of your arcane shunt dies, you can give a small area of effect to your next melee attack as a bonus action. When you attack, the range for this is a 10-foot cone, and any creature in the area of effect must make a dexterity saving throw against your spellcasting DC, dealing an extra 2d4 elemental damage of your choice on a failure, half on a successful save. At 10th level, the range increases to 15 feet, and your extra damage increases to 2d6. And at level 14, 20 feet, 2d8.
I like this with some exception.
Take it away.
I like the idea, right, of you're charging your weapon for a big blast. That's really cool. So conceptually, solid. The issue that I have is that the die increases, but it's based off your arcane shunts, which are explicitly D4s. So that's weird. That doesn't jive. Actually, it looks like the dies also increased to D6 at 10th level and a D8 at 14th level.
Do the regular arcane shunt dies also increase? Yes.
Okay, so they increase at the same level. Okay,
so you
cool.
probably actually don't need to specify that.
Yeah,
you just use your arcane shunt die.
Exactly. You would say instead of extra 2d4 elemental damage, rolling your arcane shunt dies and, rolling 2 arcane shunt dies and adding their damage to the damage of the effect.
Yes, that's it.
So something along that. Yeah, it confused me, even though everything here was correct. But I really like this feature. So I think this is definitely a strong direction to go.
Yeah, it's cool.
7th level is extra attack.
I would almost like I would like a little bit more justification of what that means for your shunt in places, but we can circle back to that when we're talking like overall. Extra attack, 7th level.
7th level is a really hard. That's going to be really hard not having that till 7th level.
What levels does this get stuff again? 3rd?
I can tell you, as someone who has played and seen played the
Bard.
Yeah, the Valor Bard, which honestly, my opinion has totally changed the Valor Bard. Valor Bard is actually awesome. Way better than I ever gave it credit for. But I'll say not having extra attack at 5th level, man, that is the worst feeling level in the game for the Valor Bard. Because you don't get Fireball like other bards. You don't get extra attack. You just still get your 1 stab with your sword. Everyone else gets a huge power boost. And this might be, it might be easier to do. I think it might be feel better if you want to give it extra attack to do it at 5th level. I know the Artificer also does it at a weird level, right? Though,
or alternatively, even later.
Yeah, right. What you could do is just increase the power of this melee shunt, or maybe some of your other melee-oriented features that use your arcane shunts. Instead of giving them extra attack, You could give them some other like more potent use of their arcane shunt to empower their weapon attacks in such a way that like they only attack once. That's like one of the core things, but all of those attacks are like big, beefy, spell based,
And then when you give them
spell
extra,
adjacent things.
and then when you give them extra attack at like 11th level, then it's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of my thought process. Because
Jeremy,
like,
thank you. You understood exactly where I was going with the Just This Day or later. Thank you for explaining me because I'm getting tired.
I got you, Pete.
Yeah, just Jeremy Gilbreth, everyone, a round of applause. Can hear through all of the subtext of my one-word gibberish.
But yeah, I think giving another cool, powerful oomph, because that's how you really can, I think, make this subclass very distinct from the Artificer as a whole. Because I'm really a little still worried that this is too close to what the Artificer does. Like this melee shunt almost feels like an infusion that an Artificer could put on an item. Same kind of goes with the elemental prowess, and that's
I can see it too.
Yeah. If you can just take this in a direction by giving it more magical oomph, like really magical oomph, I think that could be a cool direction.
What about hey Jeremy?
Yeah.
It's 420.
Pete, it's 9:55 on April the 19th.
Oh, I'm sorry you're not there yet. I'm in 420 now. Happy 420, all of you out there. I just needed to stop because I saw that on my clock, and
you can tell Pete is tired, guys.
It's 420.
Let's talk about Mystic Aura.
Yes. Allow me, Jeremy.
Please.
11th. I'm still laughing at the fact that it's 420. I didn't know that it was today. It cracks me up every time it comes around. At level 11, you can use a shunt die to cause a burst of elemental power to erupt within 10 feet of you as a reaction to protect or deal damage. You can either reduce the damage of an attack against a creature that deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage by 1d6 plus your intelligence modifier, or cause a creature that enters this space to take 1d6 plus your intelligence modifier of one of your elemental affinities as damage. This damaging effect lasts until the end of your next turn. At level 14, the reduction is increased to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier, and the aura damage is increased to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier. Again, I'll reduce those numbers to just mention that it uses that dice, because that's obviously what you're going for again here. It's the same scaling that you did before.
I get what you're going for. I think these need to be two kind of separate. They don't need to be two separate features, but I think it'd be good to separate them into two separate like little sub-blops where you have, one reaction to prevent damage and another optional reaction to deal damage, right? Yeah, I think that's all.
Yep.
I'm a little concerned that we're stacking up the reducing damage too much, maybe, because we have that on the core feature as well. But I guess the idea is you're extending this now to your allies, so that actually kind of thematically works for me. So never mind, we're good. This is good.
Working Barrier. Do you want to do this one, Jeremy, or would you like me to go again?
Yeah, I got him. I think also you might want to mention Mystic Aura, a creature you can see.
Yeah, good idea.
Hey, dude, yeah, it might be a cool idea to stipulate allies only, right? And in fact, the text you would use, right, is your control over your elemental affinity has expanded to the point where you can share your mystic protection with your allies, right? You can expand your mystic protection with your allies. Oh, I'm sorry, Max. I know I was very tired.
Yeah, very late. A lot to do tonight.
And then Warding Barrier, yeah. At 15th level, you gain the ability to use your elements to cast a Warding Barrier within 60 feet of an area that you can see as an action. Once per long rest, the barrier can be up to 20 feet wide and 10 feet tall and must fit within these dimensions. When the barrier isn't materialized, it has health equal to 6 times your level in this class with intelligence modifier and armor class equal to your spell save DC. It cannot be undone with the dispel magic and is immune to psychic and poison damage. Once it loses all of its health, the barrier dissipates. Interesting. So can nothing pass through the barrier? You need to stipulate in there, I think that's the last thing that's really missing, is what can and cannot pass through the barrier. This is interesting.
And the type of barrier it is. would have a pretty significant impact.
Yeah, can you see
on.
through it? Can you not move through it? Can ranged and melee and spells go through it? Because that wildly changes how powerful this is, right? If you know, allies can pass freely through it and enemies can't, this is now this is potentially an outrageously strong ability. And 15th level, so maybe it's fine. One thing I would like is if this had a way to tie into elemental affinity a little bit more, because this kind of seems like I have a weird wall of force that I can create as my thing. It'd be cool if it were a wall of your element kind of vibe. But yeah, it's neat.
Indeed, it is.
Grandmaster of the Elements. Pete, you want to take this guy?
At level 18, your mastery over 4 elements speaks volumes of your arcane prowess. When you enter combat, you can soak in the elemental energies around you, gaining the following benefits for 1 minute. Sort of each of your turns, you generate a small magical shield around yourself, gaining 10 temporary hit points. You can cast any spells using an element you have affinity with as a bonus action. You cannot use your action to cast another spell if you cast a spell in this manner. Your mystic aura increases to 20 feet. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest.
Yeah.
Cool. But cast any spells using an element you have affinity with as a bonus action. That's a little wild. If there's, because you'd have to say that even if they're not on your spell list, you should just add a caveat to be clear, because that seems like the intent. I don't know if that's what you were getting at, but
it's definitely very powerful. However, I will say, from a design perspective, that actually works really well with the rules that exist in the game for bonus action spell casting. It would mean, right, this would limit you to only being able to cast cantrips if you cast a normal action, a full spell here. So this actually works really well as written. It just maybe is a little confusing. I was
completely confused about what this did.
Yeah, what might be another direction for that, right?
I thought it was saying that.
I think that was what you were going for, Halo. But if you were going for, you can cast any spell with your action and then any spell with your bonus action, that actually conflicts with a core rule of the game for bonus action spell casting that you would want to look into. And that would be incredibly powerful.
I thought it was saying that you could just go through the player's handbook and look at any spell and cast that spell if you have affinity with.
That's also incredibly powerful.
That's what I thought it said, and I was like, that's wild.
So
there needs some phrasing and clarity on this one. You want to big picture this thing?
Yeah, big picture. So this is obviously that was the binder subclass, and you have the aspirations of creating a herald and planar summoner. I don't know exactly what the herald do, but I get what the idea of the planar summoner. Cool vibe. Again, my biggest concern here is it too close to the artificer, especially the binder subclass? And I'm not positive. I think the options of what spells are available to this class will actually make a huge difference as to like what this will actually do.
Yep.
And how reasonable this is. Farful, what the hell happened? Why is still streaming? We don't know either. But
future weeks, I think we're gonna future weeks probably not go this late and just say that we'll get to what we can get to by like probably midnight or something. But big picture on the Elementalist here. For me, the major thing that I really want to see out of this is more flavor and more understanding of what it means to be an Elementalist. Whenever I see a class, I am a lot more inclined to pick it. Like, this can do some spell. To me right now, this is just a chassis to cast specific spells. But I love the flavor of for example, the 3 arcane caster. The wizard, you're a spell book. You use your spell book. You are learned. You study and put spells into your book and gain knowledge over time. The warlock, you've made a bargain with an otherworldly entity of some kind. The sorcerer, some incredible event has gifted you with these powers. I want to know more about what it means to be an elementalist before I could be like sold on this class as a whole. That's my biggest comment on the Elementalist. Mechanically, you got some stuff that you're working with that's cool here. one other thing I was half expecting when I heard Elementalist was I thought it was going to be sort of like, and this isn't that direction, and maybe that's not what you want out of it, but I thought it wasn't going to be like the elements in D&D, but I thought it was going to be more of like Earth,
Avatar:
fire,
The Last
wind.
Airbender
Yeah,
elements.
Earth, fire,
Yeah.
wind, water, as the more like the elements as we think about them culturally, rather than the elements as they are represented in
Classical
D&D.
elements.
Yeah, is that the term? Classical elements. That's what I was hoping to see when I heard Elementalist. And if this is the direction you want, I mean, obviously this is a direction, but I don't see that full vision of it yet. Mechanically, a lot of the stuff works. There's some interesting features here. There's some bleed over on the Artificer, but
And
I just want to see the elements. I want to see the Elementalist shine in of its own light, flavor-wise more.
I guess what Pete's saying, and I think I agree, is, you know, there is some strong design, right? Like, your design isn't necessarily bad. The playability is not necessarily a problem here. The balance, not even really any core issues. But what we're really lacking in is some of the flavor for the subclasses and overall the space. You know, are we seeing that? And I'm not fully there yet. And maybe that will, you know, as you continue to work on it, that will become more apparent. But it just, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and I'm of like mind. So yeah,
But
I would
we
like
do
to see a little
appreciate
bit
you
more.
sharing.
Of course, yeah, agree.
And hopefully our feedback's helpful.
And that's it. That's all we got today.
Boom, we're spent. Thank you everyone for hanging out. We love you guys. If you want to catch more awesome D&D time content, you can catch us every Friday, Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. I'm sorry, twitch.tv/D&D time, where Pete and I run Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. It is 3 one-shot adventures featuring our viewers. Come play some D&D with me. It's a lot of fun. It can be very good. And thank you everyone for hanging out this evening. Pete, you got anything else to add on?
Yeah, can I say for a moment, I love you guys. Can I just get real? Can I just get real with you guys? I love you all so much. Thank you for hanging out with us and talking about homebrew stuff. It's really nice. If I could share a brief anecdote, because we're already so late. Jeremy and I went to college together, and one of the things that us and our friend group enjoyed more than anything else was all sitting around a room together and watching one person play Hearthstone and backseat gaming them and telling them how to play Hearthstone. And every time we do Fantasy Labs, you guys put all this awesome content for us, and I get to backseat game and just get the benefit of enjoying all the really cool work that you guys put in, and to just be like, oh, well, maybe this and this and this. So I really appreciate you giving me and Jeremy the opportunity, because like, as much as we're trying to grow and grow better, it's also just really fun to look at all of this different homebrew content and review it and talk about it. So I love you guys, and thanks for everything that you've shared. For people who are also passionate about homebrew, have never shared anything, or just want to check it out, go on our Discord, go on the workshop, go into the completed work section. Those are the two kind of main places to post stuff for us to talk about, and post your comment. Even if we don't have time to go over it on the stream, which we didn't get to everything tonight, unfortunately, we will, at least you're very likely to get a lot of feedback from the community. There's a lot of people that are do a great job and are heroes about going through and really looking at everyone's and critiquing each other's work. So also shout out to all of you who do that, because we really appreciate that too.
Absolutely. And I guess with that, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Pete. And this is Fantasy Labs. I felt like I had something else I wanted to talk about, but bye.
Oh, goodbye. Oh, was there something you want to talk about, Pete?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, wait, no, I do want to say it. Sign up for Lich's Lair. We had a Lich's Lair. It was great. Do that. Sign up for Lich's Lair if you're interested. There's information about it. Ask me about it, how to do it, but it's like a really in-depth critique of something that you think is like done and polished and like ready to print.
Yep.
So that's it.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, everybody.